we weren't afraid of anything down there, right? We all go down, we all come back. So, being on a submarine, it taught me we're going to go down. If we have a fire, we're all charging toward it to put it out. And I've carried that mindset along, in my career, charge towards the fire.
Hey, welcome to 10X Your Team with Cam and Otis. We're a father-son leadership podcast where we talk with other lifelong learners about making an impact and solving big problems. And I don't know if I should say this out loud because it could be. Let's just say that a pest that visits our house, there's one less of them as of about 15 minutes ago. Just don't know what happened, but it ain't going to be a pest no more.
Definitely a field mouse.
Yes. Right. Definitely. Because, got to protect the castle. It's a man's job. Right? Mm-hmm. I mean, can't be up on the roof trying to cut angle iron with a dull blade.
Protecting the house.
To protect his house. Scot Russell, my good friend, joining us today. He ain't protecting the house; he's beautifying it, which is part of protecting, right, Scott?
Yep.
I mean, you're redoing the floor in the room behind you, right?
Oh yeah. We've time to replace the carpet. Got to get the hardwoods in. So,
damn. By the time y'all get around to that, we'll be putting carpet back in. Y'all taking so long. Hardwood was yesterday. We're going back to shag. Didn't anybody tell you and your wife?
I can't go back to shag with pets. The dog hair gets
no.
I'm green shag, man.
Otis, I expect to see you in a van with shag carpet next time we run into each other.
Me with Cheech and Chong.
Yeah.
The 10X Your Team mobile, get a big logo on the side, drive around, interview people in the back of the van. You could say crisscross applesauce, be perfect, Dad. Really on brand for you.
Yep, that would be perfect. Camden, have you ever seen a shag rug in place, not in the history or museum?
I have, yeah.
You have?
It's ugly. Yeah. That's a little scary. I don't want to know whose house that was in. I don't know. I feel like I have this distinct memory, and I don't know if it was like a family member or just someone who had one that would have been really old by the time I would have seen it if it wasn't a family member. But I have this like distinct memory of like a purple like shag rug, and not for me.
Yeah. Before I get off this, since Scott grew up around the same time I did, and I know his mom and dad, who are great folks. Hi, Mom and Dad. Great, because I know they're going to listen. They better listen. Tommy, you better listen and comment, and make all your friends listen to it also when you hear this. Scott, did y'all have one of them shag carpet rakes to fluff up the shag carpet? Do you remember that?
I remember the big thing for Mom was the Electrolux vacuum cleaner, so that she could vacuum that carpet.
Mm-hmm.
With a built-in shag pick. I'm picturing like a pick, like picking out hair.
Oh, no, think like leaf rake. It was literally a plastic leaf rake that you use to fluff up your shag carpet. So,
I was born in the wrong time. I could have sold a $50 Electrolux vacuum attachment for that. Come on. Door to door too for that time, right?
It was door to door. Yep.
Yeah. Well, like I said, my good friend Scott joining us, and I do believe that Scott is our very first Submariner, and yes, he is. And you know what, folks? He's probably got a hat that has a picture of the boat on it too. And I get to say boat, and he doesn't get mad at me. He's one of the few Navy people that actually drove in a boat, and it wasn't a ship, right, Scott?
That's right. We were boats. Everything else was target.
So when you got tired of hitting your head on the I had that word in my head. The gangways, the hitting your head on the passageways, and got out of the Navy. What from being under the water thousands of feet down has helped you be a great businessman?
Oh, wow. That one's, we weren't afraid of anything down there, right? We all go down, we all come back. So, being on a submarine, it taught me we're going to go down. If we have a fire, we're all charging toward it to put it out. And I've carried that mindset along, in my career, charge towards the fire. I'm here to solve problems and get things resolved, not just, document some process.
Was it the your brother sailors, fellow submariners, being shoulder to shoulder, you think was what instilled that confidence, or was it the fear of death?
It was being with the other guys, right?
Yeah.
If I die, I die. I mean, I didn't expect to live this long. So, we were doing it for each other. Just like in the Army, we're not in a foxhole together, but we're in a much larger foxhole, if you will.
Large tube.
Yep. So yeah, it was about the brotherhood on board. We fought like family on board, but once we were on shore, don't say anything about my brother. That's between me and him, not for you, right? I can pick on him that way, you can't. So.
How have you tried to share and replicate that wisdom and that confidence into the business world? Because I always make fun of you, Dad. You can't exactly go drop people in the woods and go teach them, go send them off to Q course or things like that. We got jobs to do. How the hell do you try to bottle up that wisdom and pass it along to those folks?
So that's wow. I guess the best way I do it is trying to teach my younger kids, and I say kids because I've got people working for me that are my daughter's age, right?
I got somebody working for me that's my son's age.
Yeah, imagine that. So I try to meet them where they are, and help bring them up to where they need to be. Right. So when we first come on board the submarine, we're not qualified. We don't have these dolphins. Right. Everybody has that's the first thing they have to do is get qualified, earn your fish. And so you have to count on everybody on board that submarine that has those to help you. So I try to meet, the people I work with where they are and try to help them come up to where, they need to be in the process. So.
Yeah, that's one of the things I've always thought was interesting about the Navy. And truthfully, I didn't learn this until I'd actually retired from the Army, which is shocking, is the majority of the Navy is all OJT, on the job training. You go through a little bit of boot, and they put you on a ship and say, go figure out your job, right? Go learn from the dudes who are doing it.
On surface ships, yeah, not on submarines. No,
okay. So
I
you
spent,
still had some land-based qual before you went in.
Yeah, I did 2 years of training before I actually made it to the submarine. So,
good grief! I didn't realize it was that long. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably a good thing too. You want to make sure those dudes, when you're all locked up together, because how many sailors were on that boat with you?
Average cruise 118 to 125 crew members. So
you know every one of them dudes inside and out and all their personal business by the time you come back.
I was going to ask Scott, how many bathrooms on that?
1, 2.
That's already better than I thought.
Bathrooms, toilets. So
toilets. We'll go toilets.
So there's 3 in middle level head. There's 1 in the lower head. Officers have 1 for themselves, and then the CO and XO share 1. So
okay, that's pretty good. I was just that was top of mind. I saw something on German U-boats and that they had 70 dudes in there with 1 toilet or something like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot imagine.
Yeah, it's with the Artemis launching yesterday, and them going into space. I always equate submarine service to the closest you'll get to being outer space without leaving the planet.
So, well, speaking of my question there, I did just hear this morning that apparently their toilet stopped working, so that's a problem. So that's going to be an interesting 10 days up there. I don't know what that protocol looks like.
Poop in a bag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't want to be the one to fish them out of the ocean, huh?
Yeah. Well, I wonder what happens to poop when you shoot it out into space. Does it freeze? Does it become a meteor?
Become someone else's problem, at least. I don't know.
Yeah, I sure hope if that poop's becoming a meteor, it burns up through the atmosphere.
Yep.
I'm staying in this
right now.
I know we're in the crazy corner, Camden's crazy corner. But I did have one other
on submarines.
One question actually does come to mind with that to try to get us back on the track a little bit here. I mentioned the reference of like seeing something about a German U-boat yesterday. Is there much about the American submarine history? Any movies out there you'd recommend? Because I think of like Das Boot, which is a very, very good movie. It is also one of those where you have to pretend that it's not the Germans the entire time, and because they're out there shooting British ships and those kind of things. So, is there an American of just the boat, or anything that we can go off of with that?
Das Boot's the one we watch as U.S. Submariner. Das Boot's the movie. It's you watch Hunt for Red October, you watch any of the other ones. I can't even think of the name of it, but the most recent one, I'm watching it going, yeah, there's no. I wish, I wish we had that technology to do those types of things, but it's
What with that? What do you think is something that is a big misperception? I think that's the really interesting thing about those movies is it gives you an insight into what it's like for those guys going through that. What is something that you think is like a misperception that us land dwellers up here have about what's going on in the submarine?
They think you can look out and see, right? So there's two windows on a submarine. One looks into the reactor, and one looks into the washing machine. There's no other windows, right? So you can't see, you can't, and at the depths we go, there's no sunlight down there. So even if you raise the periscope to look outside, you're looking at the dark. We don't have big lights. We're not a research vehicle with big lights to brighten up things and look at the bottom.
1,000 leagues under the sea and all that.
Yeah. So it's we can't see, right? So we're trusting our hearing, right? So the front of a submarine. I was a sonar tech on submarines, so that was my job, was ship safety. Making sure we were listening to what was around us, and in listening, our ears became our eyes. So,
how is that translated? I mean, you're in a bit of a IT technical world. You don't do it as much because you're more of a project manager now. But how did that technicality, the that we've all seen in the movies?
Yeah. Going to that, that's active sonar. And if you do that ding, everybody knows where you are. So we're the silent service. We don't want people to know where we are. So we never did that ding.
All right. Damn, we're going that. The Otis crazy today.
No, but
I mean, your captain never said, "Mr. Russell, give me one ping."
Nope, never heard that. So my old captain, we lovingly nicknamed him Wild Bill. He was from Texas. He loved to take us out. If there was something that got volunteered for, he loved to take us out. He would take on those different missions, or the ones that might lead to something. But yeah, we never we never did active on there. Mm-hmm. And if you ever said Russell, it was probably he was yelling at me for something.
Yeah. But back
talking about
what's some of that technicality that has helped drive you into the IT world that you've been working in?
So understanding what's around you by listening, right? So listen, and again, connect with people where they are. Listen to them, figure it out. Don't just come at them like, I know what I'm talking about. I'm here to fix your problem with my tool, right? No, let me listen and understand your tool. So in turning that back to, subservice and a sonar tech, we listened. We listened for what was around us. We listened for the dangers. In business world, listen to your clients, right? I'm in consulting now, so I have to listen to my clients, understand their problems, not just listen to solve, but listen to understand.
Mm-hmm. I love that philosophical lesson there. I'm interested if there's a little bit more of, and I think this kind of gets to what you were getting at, Dad, a little bit more of the technical side of, because what comes to mind to me is this like reliance on this piece of technology, and really in a lot of ways probably having a lot of those eggs or all of those eggs in that basket. And I think there's an interesting piece there where that could be a really, really powerful thing. It can also open you up to all sorts of problems, becoming over reliant with the technology there. What are some lessons that you saw as far as that and how you've applied them into the tech space?
So that one's in the tech space, things change very quickly. In federal government, U.S. service, things change very slowly. Understanding that I need to understand the technology and know where that technology is going. We tried to do that in the service as well, understand what the next technology we may be moving to, if we switch submarines or, they may have a new version of it. But just keeping up with that technology and making sure we understand where we're going with that IT process or those IT services, if you will. In the IT space, specifically, it's constantly changing. I know y'all have talked on other podcasts about AI and where that's going. Is that coming to take my job? Maybe. Do I use that tool? Absolutely. I use it to my advantage. But a lot of times where businesses seem to fail is they want to bring in that next buzzword. AI is the buzzword right now. They're going to bring in AI, but you've brought in AI to improve this process that's been broken for years. So now you're just getting to that bad result quicker. So, just understand that to begin with. Oh, man. I feel like I didn't answer your question, though, Cam.
No, I think you got to it on the leadership point there of how that landscape is different. What I'm curious about is how did you translate that leadership differently? Because to me, it's a very different thing of, hey, here's this thing we've been using for 20 freaking years. Give it, this is going to save all of our lives versus hey, Scott, I just got this new tool. You want to try it? Like, those are two very, very different environments. And as much as you want to be cautious with those new tools, if you completely, put your head in the sand, then you're going to go out of business there.
Yeah. I go back to the leaders I had on board the submarine, right? They, my chief of the boat, senior enlisted, Pete Manus, great man. Unfortunately, he's passed away. But he cared about us, right? He was a sonar tech. He was senior enlisted on board the boat. He cared about us. And in showing that caring for us, that instilled in me, I need to care for those that are entrusted to me, whether that be in the business world or in the volunteer world that I work in. Otis, you led men, women, I lead men and women now. How do I take care of them? and so that they have their trust that I have their back. I'm that umbrella covering them. So,
which by the way, Chief of the Boat is the best title title in the military. I've had a couple of clients of mine that were former chiefs of boat.
Yeah,
and that is
pretty good.
That is just the coolest title. I love my sergeant major, and my first sergeant Jason, but chief of the boat, yeah, that's a badass title.
Okay, that's darn close to head motherfucker in charge. Sounded like that's good.
Yeah,
pretty much. Well, that is what he is.
When you screw up, you know it. Because if Cobb's looking for you, we short it to Cobb, chief of the boat. If the Cobb's looking for you, that ain't a good thing.
The other thing that that you get out of being a submariner is how detail focused you have to be, because everything is, you screw up one little hiccup, the bad guys find you, or you run into an underwater mountain like that knucklehead did out in the Pacific a number of years ago. That kind of detail process where everybody's on the same sheet of music is such a great thing in the military, but when you get out into the business world, that's tougher. How have you managed to, hold your flag up of details, specificity, and those sort of things that you had ingrained to you at such an early age as you continue to go forward in the business world and life?
Yeah. So, right now I've got a developer working for me. He hates documenting, right? He just wants to go write the code, and I get it. Just get the shit done, right? Get shit done. Let's just be done with it and move on. Unfortunately, the way I try to explain it is, okay, how are you leaving it for the guy behind you? If I come in behind you and you have no documentation for me, how do I know what was done, or how I'm going to have to go troubleshoot myself? And if I'm in an emergency situation on a submarine, I need to know all those systems so that I can repair that like that. In a situation where, if I'm on a federal government contract, maybe, with FEMA, they need to get out deployed to this service for this emergency coming in. They need to go right now. Well, if you wrote the code and you moved on to another project and didn't document it so that the handoff to the person behind you wasn't correct, how are we going to do this? How are they going to, complete the mission? So it's that.
Well, how do you communicate that importance to detail when there aren't as great of stakes? Because you did a good job of picking an example with FEMA, because that's some serious stakes right there.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's also other things you're doing where it's like, hey, like this is for like this is some freaking social media thing or whatever it is. It's like, hey, does this really need to be perfect? Our lives on the line? No, but I still need you to be freaking detail oriented. How do you get to that point there? Because I think that's what's really hard. It's easy to get people to be, safety conscious when things are in danger, but when things aren't, that's where it's hard to get people to be detail oriented.
Yeah, it's, let's say you're working for company X, and, their main focus is their website's down. Nobody's life's on the line if the website's down, right? You may lose some money, but just stay calm in that situation. And, people, I noticed when I came out, I was always calm in these situations. I'm like, this isn't going to kill me, right? For Otis, nobody's shooting at me, but for me, it's not going to kill me. I can still go home. I can still see the sunlight, so, just maintain that it just stay calm. Or as Otis, you love to put it, take a knee, drink some water, change your socks.
There you go. My favorite activity.
So,
that's awesome. And let's shift gears a little bit because I want to talk about Project Healing Waters. And I did get the name right, didn't I? I started having
Heroes on the Water.
Heroes on the Water.
Yep.
See, I knew I would do that. The more I thought about the name, the more I would flip it around. Heroes on the Water.
Yep.
So give us a little bit of the story, the catalyst. I always like to say, what was it that you were doing when you said, you know what, we need something that does this to help our veteran guy, my brothers?
Yeah, I wish I could say I started it. I'm just part of, and I want to make sure I pronounce Jim's last name correctly. Jim started it.
Or just skip his last name.
I just did that, didn't I? Anyway, Heroes on the Water started 17 years ago in Texas as someone who loved fishing and saw a need for Jim Dolan. Sorry. Jim Dolan saw this need of veterans needing to just get time on the water. Being out there on the water, there's healing power in just getting out of your head for a little while, getting out of your own head, just enjoying nature, enjoying water. So Jim started this, turned it into a 501(c)(3). We now have 55 plus volunteer-led chapters across the United States. We even have a chapter in England. So, we've served, make sure I got these numbers right, 71,000 veterans. But the difference in us and other veterans organizations out there is we include their family, right? And we're also focused on first responders. Now, for me, my grandfather's a veteran. My dad's a veteran. I'm a veteran. My son-in-law is a police officer, right? So for us veterans, we left the battlefield. We maybe brought some of it home with us, but we left the battlefield. For our first responders, they live in their battlefield, right? From day to day. So we want to serve them and, just help them heal. And because we're different, we invite first responders, veterans, which are a lot of the same people at times. A lot of veterans go into first responding. But we include their family, so their families can be part of that healing. So, but started 17 years ago in Texas, 55 chapters.
What drew you to it?
I'm sorry?
What drew you to it?
So I participated in 2 events as a veteran, just going out to the event. And then the local chapter here in Nashville just disbanded. And then I was laying in bed one Sunday night. This is one of those God things. He puts something in your mind. He's like, for some reason, I'm tossing and turning in bed on a Sunday night that I need an 18-volt Ryobi leaf blower. Why that specific? I don't know. But so marketplace the next day, I find one, go out to meet the guy selling it, and go in and start talking to his son. Brandon is a former Army medic, spent his time in Afghanistan. Spent 45 minutes talking with Brandon in his kitchen, and his dad's on the other side of the kitchen just listening. Now, us veterans, we talk, a little bit different than we would talk with civilians. So we're just talking about different things and all. And as I'm leaving, his dad walks out with me, and he's like, I've never heard him open up like that. And he's in tears. This is a 50-something-year-old man in tears about his son. And he's like, that's not the same kid I sent away. And I'm like, look, we don't know what he saw, right? And this is unfortunately right after we pulled out of Afghanistan. We don't know how many of his guys he couldn't bring home from Afghanistan. So he's battling that right now. He's battling those demons. He's battling that addiction with alcohol. There's battles he's having that we don't see. So on the way home, it was just eating at me. You got to continue to serve your fellow brothers, your fellow veterans. And I was like, man, I really liked that time with Heroes on the Water, but that chapter closed. So I reached out to the national chapter, and we had already started one like 6 months before I reached out to them. another local veteran had started it, and I joined Alfredo as the whatever I could do to help. I started out as the secretary, then moved to the assistant coordinator, and this past year I took over as coordinator of the Music City chapter here in Nashville. I'm also a national ambassador for Heroes on the Water, so go around TV shows, podcasts, talking about it. We're here to help, right? We don't ask for money from our veterans. I mean, we all need money. It's a volunteer organization. But I've never had the national organization tell me no when I had a need. So, and I love the fact that they can do that for us, just to serve our community. So.
Share with us. You said you went on 2 outings. Share with us something, because I mean, a lot of us. I was going to say everybody, but that would be pretty naive. A lot of us have been out on a boat and going fishing, whether it's bass fishing or, hooking a perch off the dock or whatever growing up. A lot of us have done that. What was different about those 2 times before you started to help run the organization?
So being out on kayaks, you're very close to the water. I mean, so you feel that connection. You feel the boat ripples or the waves, the wind, and you're much closer to it, right? I can just reach out and drop my feet in the water to cool off, or whatever I need to do. It's just a experience you have, as a human, just to be able to touch and feel the water. So in those events, my second event, I had a veteran who had been over in Iraq and Afghanistan. He suffered from PTSD, but this was his way of dealing with that, was helping others in being a guide, So I wasn't that great at fishing at that time. I still fish, but I'm, not necessarily that great at it. But, he was out there, hey, over here, there's some structure, throw a little worm there, shake it, pull it up, kind of teaching me how to do it. And that was his healing process in doing that. So, that said, what am I doing, for my fellow veterans, my fellow brothers and sisters that were, that have served, and whether they served in combat or not, we all experience the same, we all go to boot camp. Now, some's different than others, but, we all have that experience. We all chose to leave home, and home kept going, right? People in our lives kept going. We chose to take that time out of our lives and go serve. But for those who haven't and didn't, they don't understand that we left, and all of our friends, they continued on with their lives. So we come back home, it's hard to pick back up. So we connect more with, the guys that have that experience, guys and gals. So
I'd love, Scott, if you could talk a little bit about the value and impact of joining an existing organization and putting your weight behind it. You're an entrepreneurial guy, and a lot of folks will see that problem and go, I need to solve it. And I go start my 501c3 and do all these kind of things. Then you wind up like, we always joke about Tucson here, which has the highest nonprofit per capita ratio, whatever the right phrasing is on that. And it's like, you don't need more nonprofits. We need more help, but you don't necessarily need more organizations trying to help. Could you paint a picture of why somebody should go join an existing organization versus starting their own?
Well, it's already established, right? They've already, the process to become a 501c is not easy, right? So they've already done that. They have the resources. They have the people on staff. And we have a very small staff, I think it's like 7 people, that are paid staff for us. So whenever I've ever donated, I always try to look and see how much of the money actually goes back to the organization versus to the leadership. And you can look and find those organizations and say, this one is taking the money that people donate and putting it back to their mission. And our tagline here at Heroes on the Water is paddle, fish, heal. So, I love that tagline. I enjoy that. But in joining an established organization, all those headaches and roadblocks that may come from just trying to start your own, there's thousands of veterans organizations out there right now, right? Look at them, find one that meets, that you're compatible with, that has the same mission that you have, and join them, right? Don't try to compete against them, right? You mentioned Healing Waters, right? I'm not trying to compete against Project Healing Waters. I go and meet with their local chapter and try to talk to them about ours, right? So Project Healing Waters is fly fishing, right? Come out, go do one of your events, tie your flies, and then come out to one of our events and fish your flies. So, we also work with Carry the Load. So Carry the Load is another organization where, you die twice, right? You die once when you physically die and when people stop remembering your name. So in Carry the Load, we take the name of a fallen veteran, first responder, and we carry that load, or, we carry that name so they don't die that second time, at least on our watch, right? I did that a few years ago with a friend of mine and Otis's brother, who was lost. So I carried his name, walked through Georgia, Tennessee, different parts of the country, and then I handed it off to a friend of mine that was from Dallas, and he carried him all the way to Dallas to the final event for Memorial Day. So in joining with these other organizations, you're not having to climb the ladder yourself. You're already starting on a level playing ground. And, as long as the charity meets your mission statement, their mission statement meets yours, and you're compatible, don't try to start your own. I'm not saying don't, but, look and see. There's probably one out there.
Yeah, which my favorite question of everybody who is talking about starting a nonprofit, and even ones that are running a nonprofit, is what's the end state and what's your plan when you achieve end state? Because one of the things that has become an irritant to me is people who start a nonprofit but turn it into their job. And a lot of veterans do that. A lot of these veteran organizations, veteran support nonprofit, or I'm not going to call them VSO because that's another category. Veteran organizations that they're creating it because they're afraid to go get a job and they want to give back. But they're too arrogant, ignorant, and probably several other words, to do what you said. Mm-hmm. So
I wanted to stay on that a little bit because I was going to ask that of, what do y'all think that is that drives people to go that direction? And the ego came to mind on it, but now I'm going to play devil's advocate. That since you already played the ego card, I'm going to go over here on the other side. What are the more morally right reasons of why somebody does that? What do we think? Because I think people aren't doing this because they're dickheads. Like they might be a little arrogant, but it's not that bad usually. And I think if we can understand that, then we could probably get some more folks to fall in line to organizations and put their weight behind them. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that aspect, Scott?
So if you're talking about, these people that start their organization and want to make it their job, it shouldn't be a job. It should be your mission, right? It's not it's my mission to serve fellow veterans and first responders. It's not my job. This mission doesn't put food on the table for my family. My job does that. My job helps me serve my mission. So, in that statement, why do a lot of people start them? I think we see, I want to be the guy at the Super Bowl, or I want to be the guy with the booth at some sporting event because I'm with this veterans organization. That's great. go do you, but it's not what it's about, right? It's about serving our fellow brothers and sisters. So,
yeah, I would say there's some narcissism mixed in there. Well, Heroes on the Water, Project Healing Water, they do that, but I'm going to do it, with, floating inner tubes instead of kayaks. And, those guys, I'm going to be able to heal guys much better because I know that being in an inner tube on the water is much better.
Those idiots, they fish in creeks. We would never do that. We're in lakes only. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think truthfully, I think that's part of it. That and, the ignorance created through laziness of, hey, just like Scott gave you a great step-by-step of how to find out, hey, is this an organization that I want to be part of? Yeah, their mission on the website looks good, but do some digging. It's not that hard. It's all public record, isn't it, Scott?
Oh yeah.
Y'all got to report everything where all them dollars are going.
Yep.
Yep. And I think the building a job for yourself, I think, is an interesting piece, because I think we can even zoom out a bit on that. I think entrepreneurs do the same kind of thing, where it's like you think you're starting some big company, but it's like you really just made yourself a 9 to 5, but because it's just you, it's really a 7 to 7 and those kind of things, right? And you work at all these extra hours and you wind up just creating that job for yourself. Do you guys think it's just that there's an aspect of like, I feel like I can't go take the desk job, even though I would be fulfilling my purpose elsewhere. There's just this hesitance towards the idea of the cubicle, the desk job, and those kind of things. Or what do you think that is? Because I think that's a genuine thing of like, dude, Dad, how many times have we said, if you could pay me to go coach rugby, I'd do it. Like, it's like I would happily go to create that job for myself. So I could start a nonprofit and start putting on camps all around the country. There's folks who do that, and to create a little job for myself. I would say I'm not really serving the community that well at that point. That's me kind of zooming out a bit more on it. But what are your thoughts on that aspect of creating the job for themselves versus going and getting the job and doing this on the spare time?
So my wife has asked, in between jobs, oh, well, can you go to full time with Heroes on the Water? I was like, yeah, I can. In a nonprofit, you're not going to make a lot of money, right? You're not joining a nonprofit in a job role to necessarily make a lot of money, right? In the business world, I want to make money. I want to be able to support my family, and I want to be able to support my missions. Whatever those may be. So I feel like keeping them separate, having a job that allows me to support my family and support my mission and allows me that time to go do the mission, right? So I work remote. I'm able to kind of balance my schedule out so that if I need to go do a podcast, if I need to go meet with a company, I can take that time. I build it into my schedule. Then maybe I work a little bit later, for something else. But my job allows me to do my mission. So,
yeah, I see how that separation that's kind of nice. It's cool to have everything be that part of your life, but then everything is that part of your life, and that can drive you crazy in a different way, even to a guy who's been on a sub before.
Well, and what you're doing right now is what I did when I was coaching rugby. And I would say it to people around me on the rugby pitch that the only reason I'm working for, company XYZ is so that I can continue to coach rugby. And I think a lot of people lose sight of that, but that is a perfectly natural and viable thing, because now that nonprofit is getting your support, your experience, and your abilities, and it doesn't cost that nonprofit anything. Whereas if you did what your wife was alluding to, which would be really cool, but you know what? There's still, if you have a job there, they're still going to be paying you. So that's money out of the kitty. You could do the math and say, you know what? If I took a salary from my nonprofit, then that's, 6 less events we could run in a year or whatever, whatever the math works out to be. And I think that's something that we should all look at. Compensation's great for your time, but what's the true mission? Like you said, Scott.
Yeah.
And to your point, I would say, I think, and this is my experience with like Engage Foundation also, when you have people who are willing to step up and lead in that part-time position for a nonprofit, it also opens up the payment for people who do really need it. Like my board, no one on my board gets paid. I can pay myself. I think our head coaches, I pay them about $500 for a season, right? There's people who get that money. There's also a lot of us who are head coaches who don't take it because $500 is about 4 kids through the season. And to your exact math there. And I think there's a place for people to get paid. We need that help also. But I think that's an important distinction of, do you really need to be doing this, or could you have your day job and do this on the side? And I think, that's a good piece there, Dad, because I think people get a little inspired to go do that kind of thing and not just create a job like that. And it's funny because I hadn't thought about it too much in that context. We talk about it in entrepreneurship all the time of people like creating their own job. But gosh, people do that same thing with nonprofits, huh?
Yeah. I mean, but to go back to the business world, I still go in there and try to create the job I want, right? So I'm doing project management for this contract, but where do I want to get to? All right, so I'm going to have to take some time away from this mission over here or this job to go build what I want to do next, right? So if they need me to go assist on another project that's going to lead or be that step to that next place I want to be in the company, I take that too, right? So, it's sacrificing now to get to where I want to be later. And we're in the society right now where, if I can't microwave it, I ain't going to cook it,
we still haven't renamed. We've had this joke on the show for a while of microwave generation, and what the hell does that make me, and the Gen Z and Gen Alpha and all those, and yeah, we still need to figure that one out.
I mean, it's that delayed satisfaction, right? There's things. There's a bigger burst inside of you once you get to that delayed satisfaction. It's it's a bigger reward at the end, I think. Now, it doesn't mean it's easy to get there. It sucks, but in the end, you're going to be a lot happier with it.
Yeah. And I think that that rolls right into learning things. And, that takes time and effort. And, what I learned today, and I love this phrase because my visual is, and I'll tell you the visual after I tell you the phrase, is understanding what's around you by listening. And I will now always, Scott, every time I see you, picture you with your sonar earmuffs on, walking around. When we're back down in Daytona next year, you'll be walking around with your earmuffs on, and I'll be going, "Oh yeah, Scott's doing his sonar thing again." So,
Yep.
I think that's a great phrase, and that was my reminder of what I learned. Camden, how about you? What'd you learn?
I learned that, and it's a two-parter. First, that we need a new submarine movie, and number 2 on that is that I should probably start writing some of these screenplay things if I'm going to keep throwing out these ideas like that, because otherwise, what the hell are we doing?
There you go.
We've had too many good ideas on this show for the little I've done with them.
Sprinkling good idea fairy dust everywhere.
Yep. I'm good at that. Well, some listener can run with it. Give me my 10%.
Yep. Scott, how about you, man? What'd you learn?
What I learned is you guys have made me question how I translated what I did in the submarine service to the business world. And I never really thought about it. I just did it. So what I learned is I actually have translated that into the business world. So
awesome. Scott, how do folks find you, and most importantly, support Heroes on the Water?
So if you go to heroesonthewater.org, heroesonthewater, one word.org, you can look us up, go out there, look at your local chapter, go volunteer with them. Just go out there and serve lunch, serve a first responder, a veteran in your community, help load a kayak, help get them in, right? You can do that. Like I said, there's 55 chapters across the United States. And then we also have 10 therapeutic chapters, which work with VA to get people out as well. But heroesonthewater.org, you can go out there, you can find your local chapter, donate to them, volunteer your time, and just go continue to serve people.
Awesome. And heroes is spelled with an ES, folks, right?
Yep.
Right. You spelled it properly. You didn't spell it like a sailor. You spelled it the proper way, right?
Yeah, it's spelled the
How
proper
because
way.
you didn't do the website?
No, I didn't do the website. I've given my input, but
Division of labor.
There you go. Scott, man, always fun to have you hang out with us and share with us. We really appreciate your time today.
Yep. Thanks, Cam. Thanks, Otis. I really appreciate your time and letting me talk about my experience in Heroes on the Water. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Camden, run us out.
All right. Thank you all for listening to today's episode of 10X Your Team with Cam and Otis. And a special thanks to our guest, Scot Russell, for joining us today. Remember, you can watch full episodes of the show on YouTube at 10X Your Team. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to pass it along to other lifelong learners in your tribe so that they can enjoy it too. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. As always, that full archive of episodes available at www.10xyourteam.net. Thanks again, and we'll see y'all next time.